You guys. But round of applause for these guys as they get themselves settled. So Steve, Steve first, then Jay, then Chris, then Brian. Perfect. Keep the mics close. All right, panel of dudes, take it away.
Again, it was sort of a long night. I've got like a little pyramid of coffee cups right there. So see how well this is. No, I'm actually looking forward to this. I haven't done product listing ads, so I'm going to start with that. I haven't done them since they were Frugal. Do you guys remember Frugal? Anyone?
Yep.
It's a long, long time ago. I remember telling the client, I'm like, you know, they're going to charge for this at some point. This is, oh, no. We'll build our whole company around it. But of course, yeah, they did eventually charge for it. I'm going to kind of start with just an ideal of, with you, Chris, how do PLAs currently fit into your overall paid search marketing program?
I think overall for the paid search marketing program, PLAs is something that's a substantial growth opportunity, especially with Google's removal of the right-hand rail, 2016. PLAs has been placement of a better format in a premier place, so that's something that's continuing to grow, and we've seen that within our investments as well, where a lot of our investment levels have grown more than 50% within the PLA in the retail channel.
And thank you for jumping right in. I skipped right past introductions. So we're going to start over. Introduction-wise, I would like you to say your name, the company you're with, and the question will be the last thing you bought online and where you bought it from.
Okay. Yep. Jay Amin, Senior Director of Paid Search at Jellyfish. We're a full-service global digital agency, and the last thing I bought was a pair of wireless headphones from Amazon.
That's a good one. Chris D'Onofrio, Senior Partner, Group Director at MediaCom, I'm the search lead. The last thing I bought was on Amazon, actually a pair of golf clubs, so correlates to today.
Brian Jolson, Head of Search at GroupM. Last thing I bought was actually sunglasses, cheap sunglasses from Amazon that I promptly left at home for today.
I think the last thing I bought I can't describe. I mean, I can describe it, but it's not that thing. It's something when you're on a plane and you can sleep, you can put your hands in it like this and put your head down. Does anybody know what that's called? Anyone?
An
I bought it on
ostrich
Amazon.
pillow or something.
What is it
like
called?
That. I thought it was like an ostrich pillow or something like that.
I'm going to go with ostrich pillow. I don't think that's what it was, but that's
a good one.
All righty, Chris. Well, you jumped into the very first question, but I'm going to continue with that question with all of you. Just an idea of how you fit PLAs into your overall paid media. What percentage is it of the spend? I know that probably changes based on what you're selling, and what you're looking at from just say paid search contextual, and then any data that feeds each other with your product listing ads as well.
Yeah, so it's always guided by the ROAS that we get from the PLA campaigns versus the text ad campaigns and any other channels that we're running as well. So we look at the PLA, the budget we assign to our PLA campaigns based on how far along down the funnel they are and the ROAS that we're going to get from it. So it's always dependent. You know, there could be campaigns or accounts where we're running 50% of our search budget is through PLAs, whereas there's others where it could be up to 75, 90%, depending on the strategy, the amount of budget that's available, how much you can allocate towards text ads versus PLAs. So it is very dependent on, the goals, the actual, the ROAS in particular.
I think working off that, just the growth opportunity there, especially with specific retail clients, that the PLAs are an area of growth, especially within what we're working through with MediaCom, and just where the placements are and the formats within the SERP.
And I think even outside of the one-to-one relationship of a ROAS goal or an ROI goal, you know, just having an additional listing at the top of either a mobile device or a desktop device is, it's extremely important to have that visibility and exposure.
What would, and Brian, we'll start with you on this, what would you say your percentage is as far as a breakdown between Bing and Google? Notice what I did there. I said Bing and Google, not Google and Bing.
So I'd say we probably start out, 80-20, and then let performance dictate.
So
Usually,
it's similar to.
it's very similar to search. I mean, Bing Shopping has been great. A lot of the features that they have, really help us enable and activate a lot of things that we're doing. It's also a little bit less competitive than a traditional Google. So, we'll migrate to 70-30 and 60-40, and then in some, more tech cases, what I've seen, it'll be a much more even split.
Are there, and this is for all of you again, are there advantages or tactics? I know, like on just the paid search side completely, my conquest tactics, I think, are much better, or much less expensive, that is, on Bing than they are on Google. Do you notice the same thing, or is that even a tactic that you can employ?
I think the opportunity of leveraging a partner like Bing because of the efficiencies, and if you can, when you're looking at the end goal as a ROAS or any ROI or any from a performance channel, where you can get the most effective CPC, that's going to correlate all the way through from your user experience. So it gives us the ability to look at multiple channels to invest our monies as best as possible. And I think the investment levels are fluid between channels, between partners. And what we found is that Bing may be more, there is a volume opportunity, but it's at a certain rate, but it's, again, more efficient. So we're going to play that hand for the efficiency side.
Yeah, I think it's exciting to see Katie yesterday present on some of the innovative things that Bing are bringing out as well to help maybe over time influence where we allocate some of those dollars as well, because with some of those features that could roll out over the coming months, it would be interesting to test those out and potentially get more searchers shopping on Bing instead of Google or Amazon.
Yeah, like the personal shopping, and absolutely. And at some point, that's going to incorporate, I mean, it already does, but I'm sure it's going to have some ability to incorporate a bidding or a deference to a product title or whatever it may be as well, if it matches up to who that person is. How important would you say is, I think I may know the answer, is audience level data as opposed to keyword level data with product listing ads?
Yeah, massively important. I think it's been mentioned a few times yesterday and today how the user experience after purchasing it's been looked at from the inconvenience to someone to see an ad after they've already purchased, but really for the advertiser, for the brand as well, you've got to save money and you're almost wasting those impressions. But it's the cross-sell opportunities as well. So once you've got that purchaser that they may have joined up and signed and started a rewards program, for example, leveraging any signals you can to then be more strategic in how you're reaching those people to save money, but then to also take more risks with your keyword strategy. So going a bit broader on customer match audiences, as an example, or with your keyword strategy. So there's a lot of different opportunities from an audience perspective that takes us past the keyword strategy.
And that's crucial, not just within PLA, but also within paid search where everyone's applying their audiences. If we can use those type of insights and layer that into PLA, it's just going to further enhance the user experience and, again, drive our performance.
And what I will say is that audience has very, very straight ties into consumer intent and consumer interest, right? So when I'm searching for something or I'm browsing around, what am I really looking for? I know that machine learning and AI are going to classify me as somebody who is willing to make a purchase, maybe of cheap sunglasses, but at the same time, they know people like me, and kind of related to the GDPR conversation, they don't know me as a person, but based on my browsing habits, based on my activity, propensity to purchase is a big one, especially with PLAs. They know, how they can more accurately target me, and having a PLA there that's kind of more one-click, a little bit closer to the point, that can promote a product right in front of me. It's extremely important from an audience standpoint to know who me and people like me are.
It takes it that one step further from right time, right place, right message to right product. So that's getting something that's incorporating a fourth component of it, which is then getting that much closer to the path to conversion.
One of my little sayings has been like, tell me what somebody searches for and I'll tell you about that person. That's pretty accurate, right? Tell me what somebody buys. That's probably more accurate. You know, tell me what they actually put their money down on. I mean, as far as like establishing an audience or building something out, I think that's a very powerful intent sort of marker of what they're actually purchasing and how often they're purchasing it.
I think with the growth of the online, of consumers online, someone who now, my wife's a big shopper, so son shops a lot online, so that everyone's habits are continuing to push towards online to make that purchase, where in the past, maybe that wasn't so. We're even getting through to the mobile side of making purchases directly on our mobile phone, having those access to that data and having that point of purchase right there, because consumers are now more confident in making those purchases online.
Yeah, well, that's good. I'm going to move right into that because you mentioned doing it on your phone, and I know this is going to be different based on what they're buying and the price point and so forth of that. But you know, are people making buys? We had the presentation yesterday. Was what 70% is on PC, or desktop, or whatever you want to call it. Do you guys see that? Do you see, and in fact, do you respond to it? Do you modify your bids at a device level based on what you're selling? Where do you see the majority of your sales happen?
Yeah, and I will say that it's still primarily desktop, but mobile has really flown, especially in the past couple of years. But what's interesting is even past, you know, just that one-to-one conversion, last click, is, you know, understanding from a PLA's perspective on a mobile device, right? That's the first thing you see. It takes up a third, a half of your screen. And it's usually based on local inventory, or it should be for you guys out there. You know, that's something that is not going to get a sale directly correlated to it, but at the same time, it pushed that user just that much closer to making their final purchase decision. So, you know, having DDA you know, within your campaigns, understanding the influence of a near me type of search that I think like quintupled over the past year. It's extremely important to be present on the mobile space, even though, you know, through the entire, I guess the funnel within the funnel of mobile, you know, might not have a direct one-to-one conversion.
Funnel within the funnel, we have to add that to the
There's like
new
18
term.
funnels,
That's
right?
the new
We're
lingo.
marketers, we have funnels and everything, so.
I was going to add on to that just the local inventory ad, the expansion of that. So yeah, really mobile first thought there, and seeing a lot of the success really with the metrics that at least are being provided. Some, you know, often estimates at times as well, but tying the in-store purchase metrics into the actual investment you're making on those LIA campaigns. Starting to really separate those out from our PLAs and ensuring that we've got a separate budget for those separate strategies, because you're really optimizing to the in-store visits versus the online purchases on your desktop focus campaigns, really.
I mean, so do you think of that as just basically, kind of going with that funnel in a funnel, is device type part of the funnel? Like, will you see people do a consideration or a research at that device type? I know I do. I know I'll look on my phone, and I'm actually really comfortable buying on it, but I probably look on it more, and then in fact I do buy on a PC or on my desktop or whatever.
I think you just have to be upfront and proactive with your clients regarding the KPIs by device, knowing that mobile may not convert as much, but there's so much value there because they are helping with, it may not be last click, but we all know the attribution side and how everything ties together, that you're there, especially with the limited real estate and just the flexibility of being on your mobile device and not, we haven't gotten there yet, which I know is the kind of the North Star, to connect that really like that online search and then go offline and go purchase in store. If you're talking about a luxury brand, a luxury retail brand, you're not going to buy a $5,000 necklace on your PLA. You're going to research it. You're going to have it. You're going to talk your husband into buying the next, you know, going to the store with you and buying it. That's something else that comes into play. That is something that can't fully be measured, but you have to be there on both sides and kind of like look at it holistically.
Also highlights the importance of apps as well for brands. So, I mean, purchasing on your cell phone is a lot easier when you don't on an app where you've already got that information saved, and it's a lot quicker. It's, you know, with my Amazon app, it's a couple of touches and I've made the purchase, and it's no hassle there. So I think that's just really important to consider when you're thinking about why there's that difference, and that hasn't grown as quickly on mobile from a Google search conversion point versus desktop.
You know, it's funny because we think of it as mobile, and it's really not, right? I mean, device type. I mean, I'm not mobile. You know, I'm sitting here. I'm on my couch, right? So I'm making these longer-term decisions as I'm watching TV, or maybe I just saw something on TV that piqued my interest, and then I started searching for it, and it makes me, you know. Do you guys do you break it up? Do you have day parting? What tactics do you feel are the best tactics when you're running PLAs, especially based on the product? Start with you.
So we like to, we used to do that very hands-on, and it would take a lot of investigative analysis, look for different trends, and try and find as much information as you can to say, okay, we need to be off or bidding down by a percentage at this time or in this geo or to that audience. So what we are inclined to do more now is to let the tech do the work, and leveraging double-click search, for example, to set bid strategies and opt in to allow them to make adjustments at different times of the day, and to factor in location and factor in remarketing audiences. So I think it's more a case of setting those targets for those bid strategies or bid portfolios, aggressive ROAS targets, or ROAS targets that could be achieved based on the history that you've had with those campaigns, and allowing the tech to do the work rather than spending too much time thinking about it. But it does differ by clients, because there may be, you know, for example, you don't want to be running local inventory ad campaigns on mobile if the stores are closed. So there's definitely exceptions like that you need to factor in.
I think it also comes back to just how you set your program up, the granularity into your account structures, which mirrors from a paid search side and a PLA side. You want to make sure that you have those specific structure in place so you can control all levers of the optimization, from the targeting side, from your spends, to make sure that the keywords you're buying, from how you're showing your specific product, they all work hand in hand, and some of the core fundamentals overlap between paid search and PLA. And it comes down to the foundation, which is their account structure.
Yeah, and I'll say, you know, kind of overseeing a number of different clients who have very different goals, you know, it really should be dictated by performance and what the end goal is for the brand, right? So if you've got a brand who has a high inventory of a low margin product, do you necessarily want to break that out, or do you want to include that as part of your larger campaign setup? Or conversely, if you've got limited inventory that you really need to push that's high profit, high margin, you should definitely build that out, right? You got to really customize it towards what the brand is looking for, and that ties into feed management and understanding, you know, where is your inventory at what level, and working with each of the brands to kind of understand, well, what's the most important initiative today compared to Q1 or whatever it is. So, you know, I would say broad level, there's no one correct way to set it up, but it certainly does tie into what kind of products, and definitely from a inventory and margin perspective for the brands.
The inventory and the feed management piece of it is so critical for PLA. It's not just getting the feed, it's working with your clients, it's working with who supplies their feed, and making sure that you have a pulse on that piece as well, to make sure the inventory is relevant. So you're not just, the inventory is there and available, and it's something that's looked at on a daily basis.
So I'm sorry. So speaking of feed, just to go on that same concept, you talk about the importance of it. Is it as important at the level where you need, you know, every color description of a particular product, and you need that in the feed, or do you need that as an option? I mean, do you have enough people who are searching for red widget versus blue widget that you want to make sure you have purple widget as well, that kind of a thing?
Yeah, I think, I can't remember how long ago it was, probably a year or so ago, but Google released an updated taxonomy about the way you should be describing, well, the level of depth you should be given to a product description, how you should be titling products on your feed, and it's really available. We could share it after as well, but that's something to really follow when you want to be optimizing to make sure that you're showing off the most relevant searches. So they're quite specific in some of the differences in the examples they give of here's how not to do it and here's how to do it.
Gotcha.
And I always use shoes examples. So like, obviously I have brown shoes, but if somebody's searching for like pink stilettos or looking for brown loafers, the machine is really going to pick up the context of what you're searching for, and then the other side is hopefully of who the audience is. But that needs to match exactly what you're putting into the feeds, right? How are they going to know what product is going to align with that consumer? What are they actually interested in? It would be great if we could add on layers that say people who search for penny loafers or high heels are men or women. But at the end of the day, it's just that much quicker and easier for it to be a one-to-one relationship from your feed, what you're telling the machine to actually output for the end user.
And if the consumer is actually giving us the ability and saying this with that specific query, I'll use your examples, brown loafers. I was going to use this pink stilettos, but but if you use the brown loafers for men, who size 10, you absolutely have to have all that lined up in your product feed because the consumer knows exactly what they're looking for. You can't show them something else. If not, gotcha. If they're going to expose they want this, at that time you have to mirror what they're searching for in the experience, and then you're that close to point of conversion.
I think of it like as the landing page, really, right? I mean, and if you don't have a size 12,
nope.
you don't even run that and take it out of the feed.
Someone else is taking someone's taking your revenue at that point.
You mentioned double-click search. How about you guys? What are you using for your bid management? Are you using a bid management system? Is it different per your clients and so forth?
I'm in a bit of a.
Are you allowed to say?
I'm in a bit of a position here.
I didn't say which one is best.
Shameless plug. We use Kenshu quite frequently.
Okay.
But also DoubleClick and Marin, as well as Adobe, and a couple of accounts go more of the niche, Quantic Mind types of places. It depends what, again, the client needs or what the requirements are to run a successful campaign.
It's best suited for what the values are for the client. I know there's a couple partners out there, and we have great relationships with all of them. And that's where we kind of plug and play and make sure that that's the best in our client's view.
How much, and I know it's feed-based, and I know depending on the client, there's probably thousands and thousands of products, but how much testing do you guys do in ways of just ad variation? For instance, and I may be talking out of turn on this, is that even available? Does it make that big of a difference to say, start with the color and then pink stilettos or stilettos pink? That's actually what I bought my first, different. Anyway, does it make any difference, and do you have different flavors of that running, and do you test against that? Or is it just really straight up managing your feed, and that's your primary concern?
That would be the way we do it normally through the feed. I wanted to go back to a feature that we're using though, which is quite relevant to the question as well. So inventory keyword campaigns, which allow us to streamline how we manage our keyword activity based on stock levels. So if something goes out of stock, it will automatically turn those keywords off. If the price updates, then it will update the price in the ads as well, without us having to do anything. So that's a really cool feature that we're leveraging.
And that's what DoubleClick search.
DoubleClick,
I've seen
yes.
that. I think that would have to be a must feature, by the way. I mean, what do you do if you don't have it? Do you manually go in and you get a list and you just do a bulk sheet upload and you turn them all off, or what's the other option?
The automation feed, that's a must.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've kind of danced around it, but price at the end of the day is the #1 factor in making a purchase decision.
Yeah.
So being able to have that type of technology is critical to any kind of campaign management.
So this is for each of you, starting with Chris. What do you think is the biggest challenge that you face, or that PLAs in general face?
The biggest challenge, I think, is having that full understanding. There's so much opportunity there right now of how do you grow search marketers, and I kind of see the synergy between a direct response paid search program and your PLA programs of, how do you build your team and continue to get them involved in an additional fit channel that they can optimize and look at differently. It's kind of paid search built in the other way, where paid search are buying keywords This, you're using negative structures to kind of pinball down to the right experience and the right product. You have to build it both ways, but at the end goal, it's the same kind of philosophy and structure. So I think one of the biggest challenges is having consumers look at it both ways and embracing that challenge and becoming multifaceted when being a search marketer.
So, you know, hiring's it's a huge deal, and I think we talked about this on the phone, John. You mentioned Jellyfish Academy. Do you run people through, do you run new employees through sort of a training program specifically at a PLA level?
Yeah, so for our practitioners, we have specialists in paid search, in display, and paid social now. So I guess 5 or 6 years ago when we started in Baltimore, it was difficult for us to find talent locally to bring in and manage complex campaigns. So we created what we call the Jellyfish Academy. It was a 3-month training program where we take people, after they've graduated from college, they come in, their first job out, and a class of 4 that we started with took them through a 3-month program of basically how you create and manage paid search campaigns from start to finish. So that's evolved, and we're starting class number 11 next month, which shows the success of the program. We've developed that from just a paid search focus to display in the last class, and we'll be starting paid social as part of the academy at the end of the year as well.
I can't steal all Brian's thunder, but one thing between GroupM and MediaCom is what we call mPlatform. So one thing, something we've rolled out across GroupM for the last year is rigorous training and fundamentals and core features across all opcos within GroupM. So, I don't want to steal all your thunder, but
No, this is good.
I can give you a little clout. So, that comes back into making sure not only everyone's certified, but the training and courses and having those, we host weekly trainings for all channels across all opcos to have them collaborate across different opcos and different clients and being search marketers to express their challenges or how things are done and work together. And I think that's a big thing in what we're about. So like the last year has been really a focus on training and making sure that we're up to speed and hosting sessions with all our partners, Bing, Google, et cetera, and making, and aligning on not only the fundamentals, but what's new and coming and how we should be leveraging these programs.
Yeah, so that was pretty good. What I will say is that the idea of mPlatform is to basically underpin all of the media buying, whether it's search, programmatic, display, social, what have you, to ensure that we are facilitating an environment for learning, right? So we have our framework, which adheres to best practices by vertical and making sure that we're aligned there with our platforms and our engines, but then it's also ensuring that our teams are sharing their data between, most recently, search and programmatic as they're kind of coming a little bit closer, whereas search and social, I think, are staying the current course. So it's making sure that not only our teams understand it, is that they can execute and implement what is becoming an emergent technology between audiences and retargeting, customer match, all that stuff. You can use all of that data to grow, to reach, and achieve scale through other types of media.
Excellent. So how are we doing on time?
Well, we're out of time.
We're there.
But,
That's it.
You know what? Did great.
Thank
Thanks,
God.
Steve. Thank you, Steve. Thanks, panel. Thanks, guys. And thank you all. It's been a great morning, but we've arrived at roundtables now. There's a roundtable kind of on this subject. It's going to be led by Chris. Over here, it is synergies between paid search and shopping. We have another roundtable over here, which is using search for brand awareness only. That's with Juan Badiola from EA. The roundtable in the back, if I can read that far, is...
This is the weighing in over here?
Oh, thank you.
Yep.
You're closer.
Yeah,
Yes.
I got you.
Yeah,
So,
so that's,
weighing every touch point?
Yep, weighing every touch point, and that is with Brian Benavides. It's actually 2 leaders, Brian Benavides from Apt Electronics and Michael Jablonski, the director of paid media for PMX. And the last one is...
Brand awareness tools?
Brand awareness tools, okay, and that one is with, gosh, I can't even remember. Oh, Alex Porter from Location 3. So you guys choose one, and after that we'll have lunch.